What we did to the world is now being turned around and done to us. And if we, the people, don't wake up, we're going to wake up in a world that is not what we want it to be.
It's been 115 years since investors had an opportunity like this. The energy of the future. Now Elon Musk and Frank Giustra are betting big on the rise of this energy source that will change the world. We're talking about the oil of the 21st century. Learn more at crushthestreet.com/charge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to crushthestreet.com. I am Kenneth Amaduri, and I got to say I'm excited because, number one, my audio is sounding a lot better. We got that fixed, and I'm thankful to the guys who came in and took care of that for me. But secondly, I have Dale Olmstead on the line with me. He's a precious metals expert, and he's of Precious Metals Bullion and Vault. He was a jeweler who has gone into the bullion market, and he has been on the show before, and he's brought to our attention the Precious Metals Debit Card, and we're seeing a lot more news on this, obviously with gold money and different things like that. So, we're going to have a conversation with Dale. Dale, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me, Ken.
Dale, let's start off with the economy. We are seeing stocks rise to new highs here, and much of this having to do with the lack of follow-through of the Fed actually raising interest rates. So the markets are pricing in no rate hikes, and I think this has a lot to do with as to why we are seeing stocks hit new highs here. Now, do you anticipate the Fed raising rates here while the rest of the world is going negative?
Well, that's a great question, and the Fed's going to do what the Fed does, and thank you, one, for filling me in, because honestly, I stopped paying attention to pretty much whatever they have to say, because they're like two people trying to argue in the same mindset.
And they never get it right. They never get it right.
And they don't know what they're doing. Honestly, it's, I'm going to coin a couple of the phrases I caught online this morning. They're schizophrenic. They're talking to themselves back and forth, and one says tomato, the other says tomato. They just don't understand. Well, actually, maybe they do understand, and this is part of their game plan, from day one of 1913 till now. Who knows? It's beyond my scope and my pay grade to really understand all that. So what I try to do is, with what we do with our business, is we try to bring it back to the layperson, so that the average Joe can really understand what's going on with their money and their currency and the differences. And so we're more of on the ground floor basis of education there.
Yeah. Well, as far as the government goes and the Fed and the policies, it's really like an alcoholic victim who has just overdosed on alcohol. And the problem is it's in the blood system, the bloodstream already. And there's going to be a crash no matter what, because the alcohol is already in the system. And you know what? I mean, even now we got Cisco. They're reporting laying off 7% of their workforce. It's 5,500 people, and we're just seeing, huge productivity declines in the U.S. And actually, we're at 40-year lows here, the worst it's been in 40 years. Worst non-recessionary industrial production contraction in U.S. history.
Now, wait a minute there, really quick. Not to interrupt you too much, but don't we have like a 4.5%, less than 5% unemployment rate?
Yeah, really. I know that is probably one of the most misunderstood and manipulated statistics there is, and it's the propaganda that we're seeing here. So Dale, give us your thoughts on this. I'd like to get your
I can
thoughts.
only break it down to a smaller individual, as in me, myself, and I. In my local community, I'm looking around, and 10 years ago, I might see one or two people walking around with the sign, "Hey, I need a ride to Seattle," or because I'm in the Spokane, I'm on the east side of the state of Washington, or hey, yeah, I do need some help. Could you spare a dime, whatever. But now I'm seeing on my way home from work, I'm seeing two or three people. I'm talking fit people that are willing to work, wanting to work, standing outside Home Depots, going, "Look, I can swing a hammer. I can use a saw. I need some work. Would you be willing to put me to work?" That kind of thing. And so, yeah, I don't understand how they can configure, other than managing, massaging, rigging, whatever you want to term, the figures to meet their criteria. And yeah, it's pretty disgusting at how they're treating the populace. And, it's really even further disgusting that we, the people, are allowing it to happen.
Dale, interestingly enough, we are at the 45th anniversary. This last week was the 45th anniversary of Nixon closing the gold window. And, while U.S. citizens had been forbidden from owning gold or from redeeming gold certificates for gold coins since the early 1930s, foreign governments still had the privilege of redeeming their dollars for gold up until Nixon closed that window. And talking about ongoing stimulus for the Fiat Ponzi scheme, what do you suppose will be central banks and governments' next step to lock the world into fiat paper?
I think that's a great question. And from my perspective, I look back and study a little bit of history, and you're absolutely correct. Since 71, Nixon took the United States off of the gold standard. But they didn't do that worldwide. They continue using gold as a monetary base of value. So orchestrating what they've done, actually, if you look back at it, it's really pretty brilliant, very disgustingly brilliant. And meaning by that is they were able to rape and pillage the world with paper dollars of all the resources. But unfortunately, the world woke up to it. According to China, Russia, India, all the BRICS nations, they're running away from the dollar, and now it's coming home to roost. They're the ones coming into our country and buying up all of our resources. They're buying up whole towns. They're buying up uranium. And you can thank the current administration for allowing that to happen. So, yeah, what we did to the world is now being turned around and done to us. And if we, the people, don't wake up, we're going to wake up in a world that is not what we want it to be.
Well, Dale, you run a precious metals bullion dealer. And I got to ask you, a lot of people are wondering, and we know this to a large degree, that, there's real shortages out there, and the paper market is highly leveraged, and a lot of the metal that is out there, in the bullion dealers is window dressing, and I want to see if you would agree with that, owning an actual bullion dealer.
Yeah, for me as a dealer, I'm able to supply the smaller increments pretty easily because of the volume that I'm starting to get into, which is compared to the market, I'm a mosquito. I really don't have that high of volume as of yet because most of our clientele are stacking. They'll buy a little bit as the price may drop 3 to 5%. They'll pick some up, and they'll watch it for a while. If it drops 3 to 5%, they'll pick some up. And so we can supply that pretty easily, but I think where the quagmire is going to be is on the industrial level. You're going to get a company like Apple that needs to make their iPhones, and they put in a futures contract to take delivery of 10,000 ounces or 100,000 ounces, and they're going to go to take delivery of it in 6 months, and they get there and they're saying, "Oh, sorry, we don't have it. You're going to have to settle for money." Well, that's going to really throw the thing in. And we may have already seen some of that, but we've not been privy to it. It's not been brought to our attention. It's not been put out into the mainstream media and or alternative media yet. But that will probably be the first breakdown, I would think, is on a larger scale. There's going to be a default on delivery. I've even had it on smaller scale, but it was from a scrupulous company that I did business with for 3 or 4 good, trades, and then all of a sudden they had a default on delivery, and I'm out 500 ounces and my money because you have to pay for it in advance, and I'd be careful dealing with even people you think are found sound, as in me. I don't want to be a custodian of all your wealth. I only need to be a custodian of your wealth, a little bit of your wealth when your need is there, that you want to use your metal for money. It is the simplest, easiest way to be able to transact with precious metals.
Well, hey, that leads me right into my next question. There's a lot of talk on digital gold lately, and people will tell you that if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And concern, of course,
agreed.
The concern, of course, is counterparty risk. Unallocated gold versus allocated gold. And I would just, want to start you off. I mean, maybe you can kind of give us, your thoughts on, how people should be, treating this debit card. If people want to transact with their gold, what their mindset should be, or, the purpose of it. Because, a lot of people, they buy gold. They don't necessarily need to transact it. They just want to hold it forever.
Yeah,
so just kind of give us, your thoughts on the Precious Metals Debit Card.
Yeah. I'm in that same boat. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And it's, kind of goes against what I'm trying to promote. But honestly, we're in the business to help preserve wealth, okay, for future generations, to buy goods and services at in the 1950, whatever. You can go back through history from 1950, the 60s. My dad was buying the gallons of gas for 20, 25 cents. Those same 2 silver dimes liquidate for, $3 to $4. You can still buy a gallon of gas for 20, 25 cents in constitutional silver money. And then you bring it to today, it's the best wealth preservation vehicle that I know. If you have found out a better one, please bring it up to me. I'd be happy to look into it and promote it. But until it's been proven a better vehicle, I'm kind of sold out, and I'm biased. I'm a precious metal dealer. I'm trying to get people to buy and sell to me at all times. And then I'm also not a financial advisor, so anything I say shouldn't be construed that way either. I can only share, I can only share with you what I do for myself and a few other, a couple hundred through 300 other people at this point in time. And that is, eventually, everything I do, I kind of stepped away from the system probably 5 years ago, as far away as I could get. I'm one of those, I guess, tin, silver hat, silver foil hat dealers, persons that everything I do is in silver. Everything I do is in precious metals. And so meaning, like, I just paid my house payment yesterday. I don't sell my metal until I absolutely have to pay for that debit. Now, granted, the last 3 or 4 years, that has been a detriment. I've actually lost value, purchasing power, because the management, massaging, rigging of the markets have pushed the price of silver lower than when I bought it. And so when I use it to sell, to pay for my house payment, it had lost value. So I've gone backwards, but I'm also looking forward to the day when I actually have capital gains. And so,
Dale, let me ask you then, as far as the mechanics, what's going on? Because, again, people are concerned about counterparty risk. And what is the counterparty risk when it comes to the way, if people wanted to, use your debit card, gold debit card, is the gold allocated or is it unallocated? Is there fractional reserve lending? It's essentially a bank, right? I mean, are they lending out the gold?
Essentially, we operate through the banking system, and what we are is the exchange to help our clients be able to transact with gold and silver. Rhodium, platinum, palladium, too, also. All five precious metal groups. And, we are allocated, meaning like if you send in 500 ounces, a monster box of Eagles, that goes on the pallet. And say 2 years from now, you used up half of those and you want to redeem 500, your other 300 or 250 ounces of Eagles, you won't get back the exact same ones you dropped off because they're on the bottom of the pallet now. And so we would grab from the top of the pallet to redeem what you want to take back. That is considered allocated. Now, there are some other places that, like other vaults or systems where you can buy into and own part of 1,000-ounce bar. And if you want to redeem it, it will probably have a redemption fee and or a redeeming fee, just like BitGold. They're the closest thing out there that represents what we do, but on a much larger scale. They've had, gold money, 35, 40, 50 years of backing with what they've been doing. And I think Peter Schiff is even getting in and using some of his clout with the BitGold. Mm-hmm. The only difference with theirs and ours is they're working on a prepaid card, as in you have to sell your metal, wait 2 to 3 days for it to load to your card. and then you can have access to your wealth. What we offer is it's instantaneous. You keep the card in your wallet. You go and, oh man, I just blew up my tire. I need four new tires. I don't have the money in my checking account, but I have it in gold and silver. You swipe your card. That automatically, when it posts to your account, is exchanged for the silver for currency, money for currency, and settle that debit in the currency of that jurisdiction worldwide. Whether you be in the euro, where you be in Brazil, wherever you're at, it's through the banking system is automatically done currency-wise, and then what we do is we do it in the U.S. dollar exchange to make that that transaction happen.
You know, I didn't know that about BitGold, that it was a predetermined, 2 to 3 days lead time on the sale of your precious metals. I thought it was an instantaneous thing, the way you're describing yours is. So, Dale, what about the banking? People are very concerned about fractional reserve lending. Is the gold, is the precious metals, 1-to-1 in terms of, what gets, lent out and what gets used?
First off, yeah, exactly. That's a great question. And first off, we are not a bank, so we don't do any fractional reserve, loaning, leasing, leveraging of any kind. It's 100% collateralized. So if everyone came in at one time, it's not like A Wonderful Life where, hey, your money's in so-and-so's house and so-and-so house is, all this other. It's no fractional reserve at all. It's 100% collateralized. And then while it is in our custody in the vaults, there is also catastrophic and/or mishap insurance. So if something were to happen, it's replaced with like kind at time of loss, not the value of like kind, because the markets can move swiftly, volatilely. What's that big word? Volatile.
Yeah. Markets
can move swiftly. So it's replaced for like kind. So if you had 100 ounces and there was a mishap, and somehow that was either evaporated or whatever, you're replaced with like kind. You get 100 ounces back, not the value of that 100 ounces.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's important. I mean, if you're using the dollar as your measuring stick or the actual gold as your measuring stick.
Exactly. And so that's what insurance is to make you whole again, not to give you a portion of your wholeness back. It is to make you whole again. So if you lose 100 ounces and you paid $2,000 for it, and then at the time of loss, it was worth $3,000, they don't give you the $3,000 to go buy it. We replace with like kind. That's how what insurance is all about.
Dale, so what is the real benefit for people transacting in this fashion with precious metals? Is there anything else that, is significant or, that people should know about? Like, hey, this is a really good idea as to why I should get involved and have a gold-backed debit card.
Well, I think as times become more and more precarious with our monetary systems of the world, whether it be the U.S. dollar, the euro, as you can see, it's starting to fracture and fall apart also, is what's the best way to preserve my wealth? And I challenge people all the time that come in our door. If you're a farmer and you know machinery, you're going to need machinery, then buy the machinery. Take all your dollars and buy everything you know and understand to be that you're going to need in the future. As in, if you don't understand machinery but you like art and you're a connoisseur of art and you know art, then buy art. If you don't know much about anything, put it in precious metals. It will hold its value. It'll hold its purchasing power for future use. Time and time again, it's been proven throughout history. It's the best vehicle for that. And that way you can hold it. If you can hold it, sit on it, stand it, you can guard it and care for it. It has some value. And in the future, I think it's going to be valued when you compare it and or peg it against other currencies much higher than it is today. When some of these controls are either broken, lifted, or just taken away, Mr. Market will win the day. Supply and demand will win the day. It's just a matter of timing. And when that time is, I don't know. I thought it was 3-4 years ago, but I'm still hanging on to what I believe, and that is in the future for my kids and my grandkids, the best way to transfer that wealth is through precious metals.
One thing that somebody else told me, and it's true, is there is still risk holding precious metals, let's say even at your home. I mean, you can get robbed. It's not 100% safe in your hands, and that's important. Of course, a lot of us have safes, a couple safes full of silver and gold. And one thing that I would tell someone, and that someone suggested to me, is actually if you have a lot of precious metals at your home, is to have multiple safes and use one as a decoy. Because hey, if someone walks into your house, points a gun at you and your family, and says, "Hey, give me what you have," you're gonna comply if you don't want to lose your life, and you might have a decoy safe that you can essentially give to the one who's threatening your life, and preserve all the rest of the physical that you might have on hand, because that's an extremely big risk. But any other thoughts as to preserving your wealth, owning physical, or reasons to have the debit card? Please, your closing thoughts here.
Sure. Well, as you go to preserve your wealth, for a lot of this is why we try to bring it down to the average Joe to be able to access your wealth quickly. A lot of people need that availability, and some of us that are higher net worth may not need that, and therefore they may be able to risk the counterparty and have to, because they have too much wealth to put in their home. And that's why you seek outside vaulting services that are recommended usually from other dealers. Like, for instance, I'm going to give out a plug here for one of our vault dealers, because you just got to get to know the industry. You really need to understand that the banking system is changing. Whether we want to see it or not, or believe it, it's going to look different tomorrow than it does today, as you can tell through the Fed minutes and so on and so forth. But goldsilvervault.com, if you're looking for a place to store excess wealth after you get your good core position at home and you need extra storage, or you want to create that diversion, have a little bit here and a little bit there, and I think is very wise to disperse your wealth in a couple different areas. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. We've heard that our whole lives, and this is a great example of it. I think that's a good recommendation. But goldsilvervault.com, they're online. It's part of the Idaho Armored Vault System, which is separate from the banking system. And that would be my first recommendation. If you do need outside vaulting, look for private vaults. Don't do it into your banking system, because if you read their prospectus, once it's in their custody, they own it. Just like when you make a deposit with your check or your money, your currency. It's no longer yours. It's an unsecured loan to that bank. So be careful. Really, that's what I try to caution people. Is wake up, look around you, start studying this stuff. Don't take my word for it. Here's some places to go. Look this stuff up, because once you do that, then it's your own information. You're not relying on it being mine, and you can make intelligent choices and decisions for your wealth for future use. Would be my recommendation.
I never really thought of it that way, that when you put your bullion in a bank, in like a safe deposit box, that you don't really own it anymore. I mean, I've we hear the stories of them, confiscating people's gold back in the 30s, at the banks and different things like that. But, not really owning it because of the verbiage in the perspective. That's really interesting, and a good point that you bring up there.
And with us, with our terms and conditions and disclosures, you never lose ownership. You are the owner. We are the custodian. That is all we are. And by doing that, it takes off a lot of pressure from us to try to, keep track of everything, because we can actually segregate it into different accounts. Now we allocate it on the physical side, but it's all segregated on the paper side, as in the accounting and everything else. It never commingles with someone else's. It's always separated that way. So.
Dale Olmstead, everyone, precious metals expert of Precious Metals, Bullion, and Vault. Dale, thanks for coming on the show with me today.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate your time.